Welcome and good morning, good afternoon for the people who are watching us now. And my name is Elzara Halimova. I'm the program manager of the Ukrainian Institute, and I'm really glad to be here on the second day of our Alt Civic Engagement in Uncertainty program. And now we are having the panel that is called New Formats of Team Interaction in Public Organizations and Leadership in Times of Crisis. Well, everyone now knows how tremendously changed the way of our lifestyle and work conditions, and how we lack sometimes the team interaction in real life because it's switched to Zoom meetings and a lot of email correspondence and video calls, and even everyone now remembers the term that's called Zoom fatigue. And together with the Zoom fatigue, we also have a very huge this uncertainty and the impossibility to plan for a long period of time puts the stress on the leaders of the civil society organizations too. And that's why today our aim is to discuss what is the leadership in times of crisis and how it's changed, what are the types of the leadership, and what is important to pay attention to being a leader and working with team. And it's an honor for me to be here today with Pani Natalia Bordun and with Pan Krzysztof Stanowski. And I'm really happy to introduce you to our audience. And it is important that both of you have a tremendous experience in the civil society sector, because Pani Natalia, she is the founder of the Institute of Leadership and Management of the Ukrainian Catholic University. Actually, the Ukrainian Catholic University is the only university in Ukraine that gives the opportunity to the civil society leaders and the leaders of non-governmental sector to study at the master program to develop the management skills in the non-governmental organizations. And Pani Natalia is the lecturer there at the Department of Management and Organizational Development, and has a very long history of being a volunteer and being the civil society sector worker. She worked for a long time in Lash, and it is and since 2017 she's a member of the stewardship board there at Lash International, the organization that works with the people with the mental health issues, and that give the people to adapt in the society by working together, by praying together, and spending time together, being the part of our society. And now Lash International is 169 communities in 37 countries. Pan Krzysztof Stanowski also has a huge and very long history of being the leader of civic activism. He took part in the solidarity movement in 1980s, and even was imprisoned at that time. Afterwards, he co-founded a lot of organizations that were connected with the Polish, either with Polish Scouting movement, independent Polish Scouting movement in 1980s, or with education, like Education for Democracy Organization Foundation, or the platform for Polish NGOs that work for abroad, that is called the Granica Group, and is working already for 30 years, if I'm not mistaken. Pan Krzysztof is also the educator and the trainer for the civil society leaders in different countries, not only in Poland and in Ukraine, but in Caucasus or in the Central Asia. So a lot of people due to Pan Krzysztof, have the possibility to develop their knowledge and the skills as the people who work in the civil society sector, and become more effective in their NGOs. Also, Pan Krzysztof worked in the government of Poland, like in the Ministry of Education or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And thank you very much for being a lot with Ukraine and supporting it after the Revolution of Dignity. And there is the Civic Committee of the Solidarity with Ukraine, the organization that you co-founded. And it's very important that now we have the possibility to exchange the ideas into different countries, but I'm sure that we will have the very fruitful discussion today, and thank you very much for joining here. And it's important for me to tell our speakers that our flow of the discussion. We are thinking that now there will be the part for the introductory points from Pani Natalia and Pan Krzysztof on the role of leadership in the nowadays situation. And afterwards, there will be the Q&A session. And I ask you, please, our listeners, to be active, to leave your comments either on the stage or the event chat, and I will look them through and also read them to our panelists. So I'm really asking you to be active and to ask all the questions that you are interested in. And to begin with, the first question we are going to discuss here is the role of the leader nowadays and how it changed because of the pandemic. And I'm giving the floor to Pani Natalia Bordun for the introductory points. Thank you.
Thank you, Elzara, a lot for introduction. And we were calling to share our thoughts, and by working these 2 days, there's already very rich content was presented. I shared the most of them, of that, but if to ask me what I would emphasize, talking about leadership in this crisis time. So I would start from very obvious thing that we all know that those things that work in normal life wouldn't work in crisis. And the crisis we live through because of COVID bring us a new reality. And this new reality would characterized by social isolation, but also by high level of uncertainty. And when social isolation is slowly decreasing because of vaccination, uncertainty will stay with us. The uncertainty and unpredictable change that can happen any day, anytime, it's something that we take with us into future, and it's something I would focus to talk about. If when I talk about the leadership role, I would like to emphasize that we really need to switch from a leader as a one-person role to leadership as a role of each person. And we have been talked a lot about that during these 2 days, but I also would like to emphasize and bring them my own understanding why it's so important. So in uncertainty, there's always not enough information and not enough objective data to make analytically sound decision. We are called to make our decision based on our assumption. Again, when there is one person in charge into making decision, it's mean that the possibility, the options to make a decision is narrowed to one person cognitive ability, to one person cognitive filters, I would say, to one person cognitive distortion of reality. And if we have more people involved into decision-making process, both on an operational and on strategic level, we, from one side, have more bias, but for other side, we have more reality presented. And synthesis of this reality could give us opportunity to see a more way, to see emerging possibilities, and to break through our cognitive limits. So we will talk more about that, but this is important for organization as a whole to understand. And when we talk about team, I would say it's also very important to understand for team as well. How to do it? Again, it's a practical question, and there's good news that the world, the sciences is working on that, and there is few proposals that already was approbated in a real life how to do this. As the second point I would like to emphasize is a necessity to make for our decision to be really rooted in a context we are in. The good and best practice is the terms I would say go to the past. Of course, we need to learn what brings us success to others, but our decision and our success would come from our context. And our context would determine our decision and would evaluate is our decision effective or not. And the ability, the skills to read a context, to see the small signals, to understand the underlying principles of people action, it's something that leader needs to learn. And again, not only leader, but people who work in organization together. The other part that also was mentioned through this today is the psychological well-being of a team and of leader itself. We are living through the stress for a long time. Being in the stress, our brains start to adapt to it and start to change how the brain interacts with outside world and its influence on us. And this it's like very important for productivity of people, but also for the well-being of people. And the awareness that people are living under stress already for a long period, that it changes their ability to work, their needs, basic needs, and their motivation. It's something the leaders should acknowledge. And this may, and I would will that it will be transformed into different behavior when leaders keep to be more attentive to people. It's open to change a role. It's open sometimes to lower their expectation from a team for possibility in the future to be more productive and more creative in their work. Yeah, so I think this three things, it's something that comes to agenda of leader. I wouldn't say it wasn't in agenda of leader, but it's something that should take the priority now. Yeah, I would emphasize these three things.
Thank you very much, Natalia, for these points. We are going to discuss them later and to develop them a little bit. And I'm passing the floor to Krzysztof. Krzysztof, what do you think about the role of the leader and how it changed nowadays?
Thank you for the invitation. It's great to be together again, even if we cannot be physically together in Kiev or Lviv. Unfortunately, this is one of the results of the pandemic time we face. I agree with Ms. Natalia, saying frankly, I'm also a sailor. I used to sail, I used to and when you are on a yacht, the main role of the captain is to read the water. This is how we used to call it, to read the water, to understand what's going on around you, especially in front of you, but not only in front of you. And I believe that especially in the crisis time, it's like on the boat, it's like on the yacht. You are not sure what weather will be soon. You are not sure what will happen. You should very carefully read what's going on, what's around, how is your team. And this is the most important role of leader. Of course, there are some specific elements of that. The first, I would say, is to see the new land, is to see and understand the new land is in front of you. I remember the moment, today I'm in the working in the city hall, I'm responsible for the international relations of Lublin. I remember the moment when pandemia started and we started to close our offices for the inhabitants. and we sit together in the distance way, few persons of us, and we started to think what is crucial in some areas. And some people were saying, our team of engineers on the water issues are crucial. We have few of them. We cannot replace them in easy way. There are 6 of them in the city. And if they will become ill, the city will be without water. But at the same moment, some other people, and I was in this part of the team, started to thought those who are migrants in Lublin, for whom the mother tongue is not Polish, for those who are here studying here or who are here for work, and what would be the most challenging for them. And we found 2 things. First, information what's going on. They don't read, part of them don't read really Polish, and they don't understand a lot of communication about the new area, the new aspect, the COVID. But the second, we understood that one service provided by the city is the crucial for them. It's giving security services number. Without this number, you cannot purchase any medicine. Without this number, you cannot access doctor. And suddenly, a group of people, only foreigners. When you are born in Poland, you get this number just in the hospital. That we should provide this special office. And it was reading the water, understanding that for this specific important group of inhabitants, this is the crucial service. And we were the first city which opened special service for foreigners in pandemia, first in Poland, probably one of the first around Europe. And this is something what I believe is very crucial. That means to read the water and to understand what is most important. And this is the second element, to decide what's most important and what you can give up. And definitely extremely important is the team. This is what Natalia was talking about. The team we are working with, the people who trust us, or in the case of many NGOs, but also public institutions, the people who depend on us. Quite often, we have the situation that people depend on our services, of that what we provide, and this is crucial to ensure that they can fulfill their needs. I would say that something what I learned in Mongolia, I used to teach in Mongolia as well in Central Asia, Caucasus and so on. Something what I learned there, the very important for the leader is to understand different cultures. And today I'm not talking about the languages. Today I'm not talking about religions. Today we face 2 different cultures of people who are neighbor to us. Those who used to switch to the distance work, and those who are working in traditional way. And believe me, they don't understand each other. And probably you have both in the team. They behave differently, they think differently, they react differently, they have different psychological problems, and leader who is probably from one of these groups. I'm personally in the situation that we directors are offline, we are physically in the office, when majority of our employees of our team we're working online. We have to understand that important part of the people is, and probably it will be standard for the future. That means probably it will be absolutely natural that you will have half of the team which is working differently. Two other things, I believe, I was born a few years ago, a few decades ago. The leader should be the leader in technology. Definitely, we are in the situation that the technological education in last year, something unbelievable. I used to teach about technology. I used to develop application for mobile phones, for Android that iPhones, and suddenly we've seen new professions, and suddenly we started to organize our organizations, NGOs, businesses around the technology, and technology became more and more important. And if the leader is out of this context, definitely it's very problematic. Finally, the last thing which I would like to say in this first round, I learned something important when I was jailed. You mentioned that, Elzara. When I was jailed, I was approached by the most experienced bandit in Ukrainian. We would say złodziej w zakonie. Yeah, the most experienced bandit in the jail. He approached me, put the hand on my shoulder, and he told, Mr. Stanowski, first 10 years are most difficult. And that's true. First 10 years are most difficult. The same is in pandemia, in the crisis. The role of the leader is and to keep the main direction, not details. Details are totally unimportant, but keep organization around that what's most important. Values, the standards, behaviors, teams, and if leader can do that, can find a way to go in reasonable direction, not the same one, then she or he will be the real leader, and people will be with her or him.
Thank you very much, Pan Krzysztof, with your inspiring point. Still there is a huge question about the huge stress on the leader, because there is the thing that you say about reading the water, and at the same time the water is uncertainty, and we're living in the total uncertainty, although we're trying to begin a bit to socialize just the recent days and months, but at the same time still there is so much uncertain around us, so things like that we can't explain yet. And that's why the first question to you, when you said, for example, about to understand what is the most important, it's excuse me, sorry. And I wanted to clarify a bit with the practical question: how can we decide on what is the most important, because did the situation of the last year change the approach to the things, to the organization, for example, if we are talking about the leader of the organization, and we are talking about the values and the standards that were before COVID-19. And now, how did the situation change? What do you think? Did it change the understanding of how to make the steps in the situation that we have now?
My first answer is trust yourself. Don't try to overestimate the future. The future is the future. Something will happen. On the end, probably the grave, if you will not die on the large sea. But the most important is to react to that what we see around ourselves. That means and try to start activities which build something important. In Lublin, we have the voluntary center working with migrants, working with refugees, with people who are new inhabitants of our city, and definitely they felt a lot of uncertainty in this situation. They were losing jobs, they were uninformed. There are quite a lot of them, and what the leadership, what people decided to do at this early moment, they decided that they want to assist to others. That means that the sense of the organization at this moment became to allow migrants, people who are not strongest players in the market, in the society, to play important role to assist to other inhabitants, those who are weaker. And this is something important, to find sense, to find something what people trust. In Poland, we had the mass movement in internet, which was called Helping Hand in English. It was linked with the program on TV, which was somewhere in the 60s, to assist others. That means long time ago. And people just formed large groups, first in Poland and then in very small community, saying, okay, if you need a shopping, if you have a dog and unfortunately you cannot leave home for 2 weeks, we are ready to assist you. And in this way, leaders presented to people the simple, real offer, what they can do for others. And then you will have strong team or strong community who can help to others. We remember the situation in Ukraine after occupation of Crimea, after the war in Donbass, 2.5 million of people who were forced to leave their homes. How many refugee camps? 0. It was the resilience of Ukrainian community. That means readiness to understand that something, we don't know these people. Quite often they speak different language, but who cares? They are our neighbors and they really are important. And this is the same kind of activity which is not organized by the government. This is not organized by the highest leadership. It's organized by the real leaders on the community level, on the level of the organization. This is most important. So trust yourself and do that what should be done. That's it.
Very much for these thoughts, because you know, when we think about the uncertainty, it's something very huge and abstract and like global. And now with your answer, it gives perhaps more self-esteem and the belief in ourselves that we can react on what is happening around us. So by our small steps also to change the situation. And it's very important, because sometimes you can be just afraid by the things that change globally. But at the same time, a lot of us are the decision makers on their points, and it's important to remember that. Thank you for
and remember that if you act, you also psychologically feel better than if you wait. That means if you can do something for your neighbor, this is not just for the neighbor, this is also for you. You feel useful, you feel that you can change the world around you, and this is something what we expect.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's really important. Pani Natalia, I have a question to you, because in one of your points was about the leadership that now changed in a way to become more collaborative, I would say, and the one that expects more parts of the team to take part in. And I would like to ask you, please, to develop a bit this point on the question, how instrumentally can team leadership be enhanced? What can be used in order to the people who play other role than the CEO or the organization also to take some leadership, to take part in the leadership process?
Mm-hmm. I like the Krzysztof metaphor about the ceiling. The leadership is calling to scan surrounding and to search for different threats and also different possibilities that will emerge. Uncertainty with disadvantage has also its own advantage. There could be possibilities we even didn't think about, and we even couldn't predict they will come, and they definitely will come. And this, the success of organization in the end will be defined by those number of possibilities organization can pick up during the journey. And again, if there only one person is scanning around, they can see the one set of possibilities and threats. And if whole team will do this, there's a higher percentage we will get to success. So it's important point I would like to make. And before to share my opinion what leader can do, I also want to bring attention to the challenge we may have with that. It's still in our culture, it's post-totalitarian mindset, so to say, that there is a person who knows more, there's a person who knows better. And if the person is a leader or on CEO position, it's usually the most experienced, maybe most skilled person, at least in leading for the team. So it also could be on a team mindset that the leader should give us direction, the leader should give us answer, the leader should give us propose, and it doesn't work anymore in uncertainty. Even the leader is the best of the best, like the angel, it still doesn't work because the leader just limited by his own mindset. And not only leader can have to change the whole team, the people generally have to start to think about the leadership as a distributed features, a distributed role in the organization. But still, there is role of leader, and I would say that what is like in charge of leader is to scratch this future. Vision is so important because then you don't have to limit uncertainty. You don't have to narrow uncertainty because it is there, but also you don't. It's better to not create additional uncertainty. That do not bring it into house. So there should be vision, and leader is in charge to scratch this vision and bring attention to this vision of for team. And also what leader can do, I think leader can consciously build the network. It could be from team members. It also could include people from outside of organization. But the network of people who can a sense surrounding this sensing network to inform decision that will come. And it's interesting, I would like to share this because it really brings us to the reality we live in. In my life, I'm now graduated from master in clinical psychology, and I did my master thesis. And actually my research was about uncertainty and leader behavior in uncertainty. So I was working with 150 NGO leaders in Ukraine, and there was people all over Ukraine from different regions. And just a few minutes for theory, though by dealing with uncertainty, there is like great resilience when you can deal with that. But sometimes for those people who do not have this resilience, they would rather show two types of behavior. The one type of behavior is to avoid, to try to kind of put responsibility to others, it's called laissez-faire leadership. And the other type of reaction in uncertainty, this dysfunctional reaction, I would say, it's called perspective uncertainty. It's to predict too much, to try to build a different scenario, to focus to this scenario, to try to kind of limit possibilities. So to be proactive, but in a way that the limit uncertainty, that kind of push it away. And it's interesting that among those 150 leaders that answer my questionnaire, 44% has this high level of this desire of prediction and active search for certainty, and only 14% like paralysis of cognition and action in uncertainty. So I wouldn't just project it to all NGO sector in Ukraine, but still there is some signal that there is this likeliness to predict more, to try to avoid uncertainty. And it's something we need to learn, that uncertainty is here. We have to recognize it and we have to deal with it. We have to learn how to share power, but also share responsibility, how to involve people into the decision making, and how to build this like sensing network to inform decision. And I like the Krzysztof sentence that future will come. Future will come anyway. Our task now, not just to be like future keeper, but to walk very mindfully through the today and see the possibility is emerging. It's if we talk about this togetherness in making decision. And of course, it doesn't mean that we have to, like all our team meeting should become like discussion, or we have to talk and talk and talk. I'm not asking this and not invited to this, but definitely in in our everyday practice, there should be time before each decision to bring those people who in any way is stakeholders of this decision and to talk together. So to kind of wider the different bias are presented and see what we will come to.
But very, very interesting this survey. Definitely we should remember also one thing. We work with the team which used to be very devoted, concentrated on activities, and suddenly we see that they local problems, the situation in family, in health situation, became more challenging. And this is natural. And somehow on one side we should step out. That means give them more space, more chances to take decision. On the other hand, we should keep our business going on. That means we should create inside the group the structures, the behaviors. Call your colleague, ask for replacement, arrange that in the way that there is not a single person who is overusing others, but at the same moment that we understand that suddenly you can have the situation in the family or around which is not allowing you to be as present as possible. You mentioned Natalia laissez-faire leadership style. I would say that the crisis is the moment to create more space for people and opportunity to see the new leaders, opportunity to see those who in such situation feel responsible and can effectively become key persons in our team.
Yeah, and I think it's also important for leader to be honest with team when he doesn't know decision and when he doesn't know what to do, and also in a moment when there is distraction or in a moment where is the gratitude should be placed. It's the honesty. It's a very important important feature of leaders. So it's a good, you don't have to be the great man anymore, because it's just impossible to be great man. You have a role, you keep watching the vision, because I think the vision is what keep us on the same direction. And we have this in Ukrainian, we have this baikar, I don't know that word, the famous story about those three animals who take in a different way, but who didn't reach the sea because they couldn't find the direction they want to go. So they go always in the three directions. So the leader is those who keep reminding there is direction, we have a vision, and it's where we would like to come, but the way how we go there will change, and it's this new normal we are talking about.
And in some cases, it's extreme situation. Today, I'm the director of the International Cooperation Center of the city of Lublin. Just imagine what International Cooperation Center can do in traditional way when the borders are closed, people cannot meet, there are no planes, no way to even go home for many students from Lublin. And for what is such a center? We found the answer. And for many NGOs, this is the opportunity to find new answer to keep your real mission.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just thought about the previous discussion with Pani Irina and Pani Yuri, and I remember how Pani Irina said that about the Ukraine as being the creative nation or something like that, and it's it really corresponds with the idea that sometimes we overthink perhaps the situation we are in now, because we get used to the things that change a lot in our countries actually, after like in the post-Soviet period, that sometimes we have to adapt and we need to decide for ourselves. But here in this situation that we have now, it is important to have a dialogue with each other in order to come to the decision. So as far as just correct me if I'm right, the role of leader nowadays is important in this dialogue with the people who are who should also become the ones who can take part in the development of the organization or the processes. But at the same time, it means that it doesn't mean the giving the responsibility from your side, but being the visionary who is also in charge of the decision. But at the same time, it's not about the authoritarian type where one person decides, but on the way that after having this dialogue and having different perspectives in mind, to have the more effective decision, at least in this time of I don't know, small periods, because we can't plan on a very long perspective. Am I right here?
Definitely yes. And I would do the following test for the leader. If you feel the leader of NGO especially, and suddenly it can happen something to you. My goodness, COVID, it can happen. And you will be out of the business, not for 2 weeks. Will the NGO survive? Will people continue to follow you even without you? In many countries, including my country, the NGOs used to be attached to the leaders. Some of them were designed by the leaders, understanding, some of the leaders understand that, not too many, that you will not lead this NGO 150 years. Majority of the NGO leaders believe 100 years, 150 years. This is the minimum period to be the chairwoman or chairman of the organizations. Are we prepared for that? Is our NGO resilient? Will they trust to each other to continue this activity? If the answer is yes, then we are talking about something very strong, what can change the country.
Yeah, we need to remember these test questions. Dear participants, write them down and sometimes put them on the wall to remember that it's everything is fluid, but the resilience is the one that helps your organization to develop also in this time of uncertainty. Well, I see that there are some questions in the chat. I think that it's important, still we have time, but it's important to give the floor to these questions in order to be answered. And the first question is to Pani Natalia. And actually, I'm not sure if it is 100% Pani Natalia, because it's more about Lerkapchev, but still, what solutions did you, or I think that's more about the organization, did you find for the purpose of the organization, the integration of people with mental health problem into society during the pandemic time? How did the activities change the last year? Was it possible? Were these offline work with in large possible last year?
Good question. I would like to clarify here that I'm not working on an everyday basis with people within the organization. We call them friends, those people who have a mental issue. But I know a bit. My responsibility within this organization is rather boring. We do this managerial decision, the strategic decision, and it always on an international level, because it's international stewardship board, and it's very interesting still because it's multicultural group I work with. There is 7 different countries who represent in the board. But answer particular question, I would say yes. It happened that I even can say through the different country. Answer this question from the experience of different country. There was a change. First, like because people live together in a large, so it was challenged with COVID, how to live together, how to go outside, all this. So people just created place where they can being in community, but also having their own 2-3 days kind of off, but within the place of community. Also, it's very interesting because people in large also go away a lot, because one of the mission is to share with the world gift of large members. In this period, people couldn't go away, so they start to create different things. They sew masks for hospitals. They do like different gifts for doctors. This all stuff just being useful for community. It also was very interesting. Like in Ukraine, there was also activity when people come together, visit each other. Of course, there should be all this medical condition fulfilled, but people start to walk, so go to home to see the parents more, so have this more close relationship. And what is really great things that happen on international level, that people had to learn how to communicate through internet. And it really brings people from different parts of the world together. As before, people have to go to special meetings, like on a community level. It was kind of expensive, so it wasn't really often. But now, like people from Ukraine can just talk easily with people from Philippines, and talk with people from Poland, with people from Canada. And this interaction that was previously, even it's community-based organization, but still it was like this vertical level of communication. Now it just completely go to the horizontal, and this was nice. Yeah, of course, there is many disadvantage because of COVID, and especially of social isolation. The parents had the difficulties, and also we lost few people in our Ukrainian community. Of course, there was this sad stuff that happened. But coming back to our topic, I had one thought I want to put it here. Krzysztof mentioned about 2014, about people who was from east part of Ukraine, who have to go to different parts of country, and we didn't have this orphan camps. I also would bring here the great volunteer movement we had, and also the activism that was emerge when young people take responsibility. Like we all know this initiative like Будуємо Україну разом and з країни в Україну, the music festival, the active citizenship program that was initiated by British Council but grow very fast through Ukrainian Leadership Academy for Youth. All these initiatives, they were very successful and they still are. But what my point was about, that we do have a story of success dealing in uncertainty that not every country has actually. The world would be love to learn from that. And there is also very good news that come from sciences, that in uncertainty, you cannot predict success, but you could analyze it backwards. And when you analyze it backwards, you could find principles this success was built on. So it's something I would invite, like think tank in Ukraine, to take this initiative and to do this backward analysis of our success stories in Ukraine, and definitely we can share this to the world. It could be our added value to the discussion of how to deal in uncertainty, what works and doesn't work in uncertainty, because we already had this experience.
Following this answer, I would say that there are two things which changed. First, in general, we observe that province can be more involved. I'm from provincial city, I'm from Lublin. Suddenly, we found that in some meetings, we can have better representation of province, not for the reason that Kiev is traveling to Sumy or somewhere, not vice versa, but it's technically easier to participate. On other hand, working with elderly in Lublin, we introduced very strong procedure in the pre-vaccination period to ensure that they are as safe as possible. And it was very strong procedural work of NGOs, of officials, to think in what way we can ensure that they are as safe as we can guarantee. Of course, there is never full. You are never sure, but definitely you can do your best. And we were one of the most successful cities in this area. In practice, we protected them on all the most challenging period of pandemic.
Is it connected with the when you say about the provinces that are more involved? It's because of the I don't know IT.
Yeah.
Because now everyone on his level can be involved by the social media.
Not everyone. I used to cooperate with some heads of communities in Ukraine, which have access to internet from the mobile Russian providers. But in general, yeah, you are not forced to travel 7 hours to participate in 2-hour meeting. And suddenly your voice can be heard and your organization can be reshaped in the way that normal member or a person from the remote area can on more or less equal basis participate in taking decisions. Now it's technically possible.
Yeah, in some ways, although we have social isolation in many ways, there is still the idea that the world is a little bit closer because now in this social media situation, we can be here together today, although we are sitting at home at our homes, and still we can discuss the questions and come to some more ideas. Actually, we can proceed to the question that is again in the chat, because it's also connected with the technologies. And Pani Olena asks what technologies do you advise to use in public nonprofit organizations, and what do you think about the machine learning to help in making decisions? You already said that the leader should be in touch with technologies and even to be the leader in technologies. So please share your opinion on this issue.
Okay, I'm not sure how to use machine learning and NGO activity, saying frankly. On other hand, something what I see around myself in activities of NGOs, the group work on documents that advanced, easy to use voting systems or questionnaires, which really allow the members to be heard. Something we use, all of us, we use too often video conferences, but at the same moment we observe that other forms like Telegram or other groups can be effective tool to pass the message and to expect reaction. Something what I observe personally, I see that people from different organizations or structures with technology, when we are not talking about personal data, can easily cooperate in joint projects, and it can be very, very effective. This is something what I see. Machine learning, I'm not sure, but probably I'm too old.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think that one more chapter in the discussion is important, the one that Pani Natalia also mentioned already. It's about the psychological health, the mental health of the team workers in the organization. In a situation when a lot of things are uncertain, it is crucial to think about the colleagues. And there was a very interesting idea that sometimes we need to slow down and not to think about the results, because the results will be more fruitful in the future if we think about if we don't put the highest stress on our colleagues now. And it's very important. But can you please both share what you think are the practical ways to embrace this team spirit and to help the team, the members of the team also to be motivated and to work together so hard as it was in the offline times, although the conditions are constantly changing? Natalia, can I give the word to you first? What do you think?
Yeah, a lot of thoughts. First of all, I would say that we really need to take it seriously. Again, coming to my survey, there was 150 reminding participants, and 78% of them, by answering the question, they show the depression on a different level, and 14 has a severe depression. And I just want to also mention that enter point to the survey was the criteria that you don't have, you are not diagnosed with any depression or anxiety disorder. So it's mean that those people even don't aware that they have this stage, and they really need more attention to their psychological well-being. And this is reality. And of course, I would say it's not a very specific in Ukraine. The research all over the world shows the same. But I just want to say it's serious. I was kind of surprised that it's 78% of people, they follow in the form, and it's end up with that. What leader can do? I would say, again, what we all can do. I wouldn't put it only on a leader's shoulders, but still there is leaders also role here. First, be attentive. So kind of be attuned to your team. Try to scan how they feel. Create this atmosphere, this culture of openness that everyone can tell about that. Can tell, I need a break right now. And in this crisis uncertainty time, the long-term productivity, it's more important than short-term productivity. Some team just have like every 2 weeks, they have a time off. The day or few days off. Some teams, they have a possibility that they agree that like someday people can do not do jobs, or there is 2 people who are in charge of the task. So if one feels worse, the other can pick up and do work for both. Definitely, like there should be the education about how to diagnose myself, how to see that I am in depressive mood, how to recognize it and what to do with that. And there is a lot of materials online. There is a very good platforms who provide evidence-based information. It's all is now very easy to have. So I would invite leaders at least start to read this, start to make themselves more knowledgeable about that, and then to invite group to work with it as well. Yeah.
Maybe you could name some 1 or 2 resources that were the most helpful last year that you perhaps provided your students to read about. Or what can we find on the internet?
Mm-hmm. We have now a very good the project in Ukraine that called Mental Health for Ukraine. And if you Google this world, you will find their website, and they have a lot of information. Some short video that you can read there. I will think about the others and maybe even type here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
But at the same moment, I understand that we are in difficult time, that all of us should be rich, happy. We should have something what some people call progress. I never understand what it is about. Take it easy. Hey, this is not the situation. I'm not talking about the real problems. I'm not talking the real illness. Yes, it happened. But accept this situation that we are not in the theater, that we are not actors who are playing something. We are real people living real life, happy with challenges, with problems, with big challenges, and this is normal part of the life. And somehow, probably we also shouldn't be, also as leaders, to push it to ourselves and to the team. That means accept this situation. They have enough me. They need rest. They need to rest from me. They don't need my great directions. So this is something what we also should learn. And at the same moment, definitely, if we see that there is the problem with involvement, we should find the project, the activity, which can open the new seas for us, the new water for us. In the team I'm part of, in the center of pandemia, we came to the crazy idea that Lublin can become European capital of youth, European youth capital for 2023. In this crazy period, we participate in most strange competition. And we won it, of course. The majority of the team were 3 times younger than me, but we won, and we were assisting these young inhabitants of Lublin, and we won, and it was empowering a real group of people, and we did something important, what will be present in the city for next 20 years, I believe.
And I would like to add to this, yeah, just for the leader, be attuned to your team, but also to be attuned to yourself. And also in the activity, there is also the other terminology coming. We all know this book From Good to Great, and now we are switching from good to good enough. There is even not advice to put all researchers for to be great if you don't know what result it will bring in 10 years. So we really here talking about good enough. Do we have a good enough research to still walk into our vision? Do we feel good enough to start a new project? I would introduce this good enough term that should be in the mind of leader.
Thank you very much. I'm seeing that we have 10 more minutes till the end of our discussion. And actually, when we say like the leader should take it easy and to adapt to learn this thing, yeah, it's sometimes more about even the skill that we need to develop, like to take the situation easier, or to look around and not only focus on the global things. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think are more, what skills are also, and other skills are also essential now for the leader or leaders in the organization in the times of crisis? What is important to develop now, or to learn knowledge and skills?
To believe in the future and to believe in the people. That means sometimes we are in really situation which it's difficult to imagine that you can do something reasonable and that there is any future. Yeah, it happens. It happened in Ukraine, it happened in Poland from time to time. And in this moment, leaders, they are those people who, regardless of reality, can provide reasonable direction and encourage people to together to go through this fog to the direction, to see the to work regardless what will be the result. Once again, we are talking about the situation when we cannot guarantee nothing except of that we will be together. And perhaps it will be the result. And perhaps it will be useful. Sometimes it will not be useful. Sometimes we really cannot influence the future, and we should also somehow accept it. But on the other hand, leaders are those who try to read the water and try to build team and work with team to do what they believe what should be done. That's it.
Thank you. Pani Natalia, could you please comment on that also?
Yeah, the first, I also would like to introduce and to propose to audience to read recently published by Global Alliance of Project Performance document, where they describe a new standards of leader, and I actually like them very much. Maybe I will share a link later. What I would emphasize as important, again, as a leader, you are on a time when you cannot be right. So there is not an answer. There's not a right answers. There is a decision you made, and it's may work in the future, may not. So, but it's a decision you made, and as collaboratively you will work on the decision, as much as better leader you are, I would say. To develop the skills that help you to work collaboratively, and this requires to learn about yourself a lot. So I would mention this as a very important skills, to be able to self-reflect, to self-learn, to see your limits, to accept your limits. It's okay to have a limit, to be honest with your strengths, and to create this culture in your organization. Also to think systematically, to remember that what you are trying to go, what you willing to go, what you want to achieve, what mission you want to fulfill, have its own context. And in this context, there is different things that matter. The matter is a life stage of your organization, your team and health of your team, both physical and mental health, it's matter. The community you work for, it's also matter. All this matter, not only to be first, to be the best. It doesn't really mean anymore, so much anymore. It's a context you are in really matter. So try to think systematically for whole context. Again, how to do this, I wouldn't say it's like require very different skills. It's the same skills help you. It's more require the mindset change. If you change this mindset, you change the priority for what you think and feel it's okay. And what you think and feel, it's something you have to change or grow in. I couldn't bring the very particular skills here. I think all skills still helpful.
Thank you very much. It's really insightful. And here I see the comment. It's more of a comment, but not of a question, from Konstantinos from Greece, who wrote about this type of collaborative leadership, I suppose. And he wrote here, when the acceptance of the purpose an NGO is warmly supported, when the community is given the opportunity to engage in variety levels of decision-making and operations, and when the right management and leadership style is applied, this can transform the organization. In this rare case, the resilience of the NGO is not so dependent or associated directly with the founders. Thank you for this comment.
Yeah.
It's important that we can reflect here, although we can't take the word, but thank you for writing here.
Definitely, in such moments, we should, as usual, we should use opportunities. We have some traditional way we operate, traditional activities of our NGO. This is what we used to do in last 10 years or 5 years or 100 years in cases of some NGOs. And no, this is not a dogma. You should accept the situation. In crisis, you will work differently. And we should use these opportunities to to empower the team, to empower organization, to be stronger. And somehow the role of the leader is to, you are talking, drawing of the situation, is to develop the new narrative, the new story, to see the reality and to connect that with our situation, our position, our values, and say, this is what we stand for. And that means that we will do that. And that's it. And this new narrative is probably crucial, and it's the responsibility of leadership, even if we involved all the people around.
Thank you. Yes, it's sometimes it's a lot about the living the comfort zone, but still, although the development also depends on finding the new narratives in the situations when everything is uncertain. We don't know what will be in the future, but just to walk around and make these small steps. I see that the time is up. Perhaps, Pan Krzysztof or Pani Natalia, you would like to say some final comments on this discussion, or we can. What do you think?
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's great to be together. To the leaders and to all of us, first read the water. Look around and understand try to understand what's going on. And please remember, we cannot change the direction, general direction every minute. First 10 years are most difficult. So if you are doing something, try to keep on the same direction, and we will do what we should do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pani Natalia, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I would say this time it's a great time to reflect on your mission, your personal mission, and the mission of your organization. And as soon as you are sure about your mission, just do not afraid to start to walk and be yourself. It's also a great time to be yourself.
Thank you very much for this really important and inspiring conversation. And to sum up, we talked about the leadership and how the leadership sometimes changes, but how it's important not to overestimate the situation that we are in, although we call it now the times of crisis. And we were together with Pan Krzysztof Stanowski and Pani Natalia Bordun. Thank you very much for this insightful conversation. And I asked Nata Yeremenko also to come here and to announce what we'll have next after our small break for the lunch. Thank you.
Thank you for a very Krzysztof and Natalia, and to all of our participants. I would also like to announce that now we will have a half-an-hour lunch break and come back at 2 o'clock Ukrainian for the final round of group exchange, and we will discuss our impressions from the talk and some of our thoughts how to maintain mental well-being in our organizations and share some of our tips and tricks. So thank you for this talk and enjoy this lunch. Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being with us today.